I've touched on this before, but with all the current remakes and remasters in progress, whether it's Until Dawn, Shadows of the Damned, Lollipop Chainsaw, or even Mass Effect, it's hard not to wonder if any of this is truly necessary. Don't get me wrong, I love revisiting old classics, but when consoles are churning out remasters of games that are only 1 or 2 generations old, the whole process starts to feel pointless. Unless you're introducing entirely new gameplay mechanics, all you're really doing is slapping a fresh coat of paint on an experience we've already played. Welcome to the Snake Pit, where we're full of bile and venom. I'm your host, Snake Daemon, and today we're looking at how the gaming industry has turned remakes into a safe, lazy cash grab rather than an opportunity to actually improve upon what came before. And naturally, I have an idea that actually makes sense. Something that would breathe new life into an old franchise rather than milking it dry. Let's talk about Everything or Nothing, one of the best James Bond games ever made. One that, like so many others, has been left to rot in licensing limbo. Alongside it, we have From Russia, with Love and Bloodstone, 2 other Bond games that have been forgotten by the industry. The potential for a revival is massive. But instead of capitalizing on it, the industry would rather churn out yet another half-baked remake of a game that isn't even a decade old. Yes, I understand that licensing is a nightmare, but imagine if we could finally get a proper Bond game again. With studios closing down left and right, publishers bleeding money, and Hollywood facing the same financial disaster, a move like this could restore some of the faith that has been lost. But here's where it gets interesting. How do you update these games? Because if you're going to bring them back, you can't just upscale the graphics and call it a day. No, you need to go all in. Imagine this, rather than just remastering Everything or Nothing From Russia with Love and Bloodstone, you build a Bond game where you can choose which James Bond you play as. Not just for aesthetics, but for gameplay. Each Bond actor brought something unique to the role, and that should be reflected in how the game plays. Here's how it could work. George Lazenby, easy mode. Lazenby was fine, but let's be honest, he's the Bond that people remember the least. This mode would be designed for more casual players with simplified mechanics, more health, and auto-aim to make things easier. Roger Moore or Pierce Brosnan, standard mode. Moore's Bond was stylish, witty, and gadget-heavy. Brosnan's was a perfect balance of action and espionage. Playing as these Bonds would mean more reliance on tech. Stealth takedowns using gadgets, hacking systems, and a focus on classic Bond spy work rather than brute force. Daniel Craig hard mode. Craig's Bond was different. More brutal, more physical, and more about parkour-style traversal. Playing as Craig's Bond would add new movement mechanics, vaulting over obstacles, climbing walls, and performing devastating melee takedowns. Guns wouldn't be as effective, forcing players to rely on stealth and precision. Timothy Dalton, hardcore mode. Dalton's Bond was gritty, a pure assassin with no patience for nonsense. In this mode, combat would be more unforgiving, with limited ammo, deadlier enemies, and faster takedown animations. This mode would emphasize raw skill, rewarding headshots and quick reactions. Sean Connery 007 mode. The ultimate challenge, one shot and you're dead. But in return, you also get an instant kill system for well-placed headshots, just like Connery's cool, calculated Bond. This mode would be for true Bond fans, those who want to experience the role in its most pure form. And when you've finally completed the difficulty, you unlock them to play in whichever you want. This kind of true reinvention is exactly what these remakes should be doing. Taking existing games and making them feel fresh again. Not just tweaking the visuals, but overhauling the experience to make something new while keeping the core spirit intact. Of course, this wouldn't just be a case of swapping character models. Each Bond would come with entirely new dialogue, voiced to match their specific personality and era. Imagine playing as Roger Moore, delivering charming one-liners and sarcastic quips in every tense situation, or Daniel Craig responding with cold, brutal efficiency. Connery's Bond could be smooth and commanding, intimidating enemies with his quiet confidence. Dalton's could be sharp and ruthless, cutting straight to the point. Brosnan could balance between charm and action, slipping between smooth talking and deadly efficiency. Even Lazenby, who never got a proper second shot at the role, could be given a voice update fleshing out what his version of Bond would sound like with modern writing. Each Bond would also interact differently with NPCs, whether it's how they handle a femme fatale, threaten a villain, or respond to M and Q. The game could even adjust how Bond reacts to certain situations. Moore's Bond might try to talk his way out of a fight, while Craig's would go for a brutal takedown. Brosnan might flirt his way past a guard, while Dalton would just shoot first and ask questions later. This level of immersion would make the experience feel fresh every time you play with a different Bond, giving true fans a reason to revisit the game multiple times. And of course, Bond moments that differ from Bond to Bond. If game companies really want to cash in on nostalgia, this is the way to do it. Stop remastering games that are barely a decade old just to squeeze a few extra bucks out of the fan base. Instead, bring back dormant franchises and actually enhance them in a way that makes them worth replaying. A new James Bond game with multiple Bonds, new gameplay mechanics and meaningful difficulty modes would be exactly the kind of thing that could restore some faith in the industry. But will they do it? Probably not. It's easier to just sell Until Dawn again, with slightly better graphics, and call it a day. Thanks for dropping by the Snake Pit, where we thrive on untapped potential and lost opportunities. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell, like the video, and leave your opinions in the comments, where, naturally, I won't read them. Until next time, stay venomous.